it's really great when you meet someone who really knows their field and also can tell about it interestingly. And today I have a person like that here, Jason Lepojärvi, Doctor of Love. This is awesome. Thanks for making it.
My pleasure, Dr. Love. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You like the title, but I think you have chosen it yourself, right?
I have not.
Oh!
No, I haven't actually. I found it in an email that I sent when in my 20s to my girlfriend at the time, after I had read C.S. Lewis's The Four Loves. And I was so intrigued by this book that I sent this email saying, I found this book and I want to learn more. One day I'll be called Dr. Love. Seriously.
So you chose it yourself.
Okay, fine. I chose it myself, and of course I was referring to Dr. Phil and so on. But 10 years later, 15 years later, I found the email and I got goosebumps. I had forgotten all about it. And here I am, doing a doctorate on love. How could this be? I'm a prophet.
Oh, that's a nice story. You did do your thesis on theology of love and C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
Let's discuss that in a minute more. And you have taught the subject in Oxford, and also you have blogged about it, and you have written books on it, on love and sexuality. Mm-hmm. And you also arrange quality time with your wife and awesome 2 daughters.
Try to.
Yeah, I'm sure it's quite hard. Awesome job. And your writings can really give people new perspectives.
I hope so.
And also like fun and useful life philosophy. That's a nice combination.
Sounds great. Sign me up.
Yeah, I really recommend reading his homepage. There's a lot of nice material there. How did you choose this love to be your subject to study?
Well, it was happen chance. So I did my my master's thesis on the theology and philosophy of the human body and sexuality. And from there, an interest in love, not just erotic love or bodily embodied love, arose. And so I thought, well, if somebody wants to pay me to study and to read books on love and to study love, sign me up. And C.S. Lewis was a long-lasting interest of mine ever since my military years, when I was 19, 20. I combined the two, Lewis, love, Lepojärvi. Lewis and love make such a interesting combo that even Lepojärvi can't F it up. And I chose well because it's apparent now that so many other people are interested in it as well. But rarely has anyone studied it like this from a scholarly point of view. I mean, he has a huge fan base. He's one of the most influential 20th century author with relevance into the 21st.
Yeah.
But not many have studied his ideas about love.
Yeah, that's nice combination. You have the sharp scholar side, and then you are also very entertaining performer, I must say. Or you know how to make it very interesting and suitable for all kind of audiences.
I
this autumn we will see you in Finland in Marriage at First Sight show.
Yeah. Married.
Oh,
Married
yes.
at First Sight. Yes. Yeah, I'm really excited. I think out of the 16 countries and 36 seasons, I must be the youngest love expert on that show. So a little bit of pressure.
Maybe you have nice point of view, kind of different from the others.
Well, the producers and the channel really took a risk on me. They're courageous. My hat goes off to them. They invited me out of the blue, and it just happened to coincide with our trip to Finland. And after deliberating for a few weeks, thinking about the pros and cons, I decided to go for it.
I'm glad you did. I know next question is not very easy for you because you have studied C.S. Lewis so much and you are a fan of his. But briefly, who is he? Because we all, like us normal, not scholar people, we only know he did the Narnia, but we know nothing else. So in couple sentences, who was he?
He was an Oxford Don, an Oxford scholar who is known to the general public for his Narnia books. So he's one of J.R. Tolkien's best friends, the author of The Lord of the Rings. And
I want to get into those pub conversations.
Yes, me too. Yes. And I was just there at their pub, Eagle and Child, last week. Yeah, every time I go
Nice.
in, I think I come out a bit smarter. Probably not true.
Good reason to drink beer.
Yeah, yeah. Take your time. So yes, that's what he did as a profession. He was a scholar of English literature, and after his conversion from atheism to Christianity in his 30s, he put all his literary talents, or not all, but some of his literary talents, into explaining the Christian understanding of the world, of love, of suffering, of many other things, from a more or less intellectually attractive and imaginatively robust viewpoint. He always mixes the two. And that is what made him very famous and still liked in many circles today. And everybody, no matter whether they're Protestant or Catholic or Orthodox or whatnot, they like Lewis. So he's a so-called mere Christian who talks about things that unite Christians and avoids the topics that are divisive. So that's who he was, C.S. Lewis. And I found his books when I was 19, 20, and just fell in love with his style, not just the content, but the way he expresses himself.
And you did your PhD thesis on him. What was the topic of that thesis, and tell a little bit about that?
Well, it was on love, his writings, his thought about love. And the thesis was titled, God is Love, but Love is Not God. And that captures one of the main points, common denominator of all my academic publications on Lewis's concept of love, which is that love is a double-edged sword. It's on one hand, it's one of the most wonderful things in life, but on another hand, divorced from all the other virtues like loyalty and faithfulness and courage and wisdom, love is notoriously fickle. So it's not permanent, and it can lead us astray sometimes. The feeling of love can compel us to do all sorts of stupid, even evil things sometimes in the name of love. So
Yeah.
God may be love, but love, human love, especially in loveness, the feeling of being in love, is not God and ought not to be elevated as an object of worship. That's kind of his more or less ethical message. But there are other points as well.
Yeah, important and interesting things. How about what kind of references you use in your studies? Do you use only theology, or is there also psychology or philosophy or even novels?
Well, the sources were books. He's written 40 books. Many of them relate to love, either the straightforward prose or philosophical argumentation, or then their novels, because he was first and foremost a literary figure. He was a man of letters, and only later did he dare to write about things that somehow involve God. So maybe that would be theology is really difficult to define, but one way to look at it is that theology is anything that relates to God and our human interpersonal relationships in light of this divine dimension. And so even though my dissertation is strictly, it's a theological dissertation, I think it's equally philosophical. So there are a lot of claims about love in general, not just divine love, or not just our love towards God, or our love for each other in light of the Creator or our creaturely status. So it's a mixture. Maybe life is like that.
Yeah, maybe it's not simple. This is interesting thought to ponder.
We got the sun.
Very nice. This is Finnish summer. It's great to have this 1 month in a year. Then it can be cold and rainy, but now we can enjoy.
I just returned from Oxford. I had a week works trip there, and British summer is also a bit unique. So every day you need both the umbrella and suntan lotion, because it changes 3-4 times in any given day.
So it's not just urban legend?
No, it's not. But the locals, admirably, they're used to it, and rain doesn't stop them from living their life. In Finland, if it rains, nobody goes outside. Often it rains for a week. But when it's sunny, sometimes it's sunny for a week at a time. But not so in England. But yeah, like I said, I gotta give it to them. They are admirably weather. I don't know what the phrase would be, but they have a zeal for life that isn't weather conditioned.
Maybe sisu, some kind of English sisu.
What would that be? Yeah, they have to come up with their own word.
Yeah. How about in your research? What has been the idea with the longest lifespan? Is there such idea that you have constructed or you have lifted up that has started life of its own in a research scholar world?
Good question. And well, it's so recent that we don't know. That's the problem with scholarship, especially humanities, where the fruit of your work isn't always immediately revealed, relevant, obvious. And so you could ask me again in 10, 20 years, we'll see what happens.
And let's see after you are dead also.
Yeah, thanks. That's a nice thought. But I suspect, based on that immediate feedback and interest, that it has something to do with the lasting bit will have something to do with Lewis's surprising knowledge of contemporary theological discussion that I was able to uncover through his writings. Although he writes very popularly, and he doesn't sprinkle his text with footnotes and references to these big names, there's so much reading and insightful life experience informing what he writes, and I was able to uncover a bit of that, and also quite persuasively argue that Lewis wrote the book The Four Loves, which is his most popular book on love. He wrote it deliberately, consciously, to tackle many heresies, to tackle many unhelpful ideas about love in Christian circles, one of which was the idea that human love is always bad and selfish and rotten. So a too pessimistic understanding of human love that Lutheranism, especially in Scandinavia, has suffered from. So this is what he was doing. He was defending human love against the cynics, but he was also warning about the flip side, love's double-edged sword nature, against those who are more tempted to worship love and elevate love, especially the feeling of being in love, to the status of an idol or a god in place of God. And so he was fighting two extremes at the same time without naming anyone. That was his strategy. He wouldn't name his opponents. He would just talk about ideas. But I was able to trace those ideas back to certain people.
Yeah. How about future research interests? What's the next thing for Jason Lepojärvi, Doctor of Law?
We are moving to Vancouver next week. I got a postdoc there, so I'll continue my research for at least a year or maybe two before returning to Oxford, and it'll be on the theology of worship. Now in Finnish we would say palvonta, but very shortly, in love vocabulary, I'm trying to understand the difference between that love which is due to God only, which is called worship, and that love which is due to people. Where exactly is the difference? What exactly is it that we ought not to do or give or perform to people, the performing of which would count as idolatry? And so my research topic is called Idolatry, Protestant and Catholic Perspectives. I'm trying to see what the different churches have answered and whether we could come to some kind of agreement. So it's a bridge building project of sorts.
Yeah, it's great how you combine all those, and I think the ecumenic questions are really important for you, which is nice.
Yes, they are. They're close to my heart. I sometimes say that I was born Pentecostal, converted to Lutheranism, and then a closet Catholic. So I'm Pentecostal I'm emotionally Pentecostal, but on paper I'm Lutheran, but intellectually I'm pseudo-Catholic.
You are not afraid of the labels, which I think is also good. It doesn't affect your research that you would be afraid of some certain label.
No, I don't think I could get anything done in life or work if I was too fearful of labels. And so labels will always be used, but it's our job as scholars and philosophers and theologians to deconstruct these labels and not to be too fearful of them, not to let them distort our work.
Great. Where can we follow you? Where can we read more about your work and see also the future research?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I have a more or less public profile. I'm on Twitter. And I have my personal website, which is still in Finnish. I haven't founded or revealed the English one yet, but later I will. And all my publications, almost all of them, are freely downloadable online, including the dissertation, but both in English and I was going to say Swedish, but I meant Finnish. There's one in Spanish as well, on love.
Oh, that's quite nice variety of languages, and better Spanish than Swedish. Okay, thank you, Jason. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
My pleasure, Karla.
Thanks.